search engine user, even though technically they're both internet users, right? A blog user is usually in a news-getting or entertainment frame of mind. So a blog reader is going to go to, say, I don't know, John Reese's blog at income.com to find out what's new with his product that he's been releasing and so forth and so on. Or they might be in an entertainment frame of mind where they're going to read the Perez Hilton guy's blog and just, waste some time and screw around and see what, see what Nicole Richie has eaten this month or whatever. And then, of course, you have my favorite way of reaching people online, which is email, and they're in a completely different frame of mind than all these other guys we just talked about. An email reader is usually in a let's be productive type frame of mind, or I wonder what's up with whoever frame of mind. So they're either like trying to get something done, or they're just checking on stuff, continuing relationships with people they've had. Now, the rest of the copy I'm going to talk to you about, or the real meat of this presentation, I want to talk about writing email copy, because that's where I've been able to have the best success personally, is through writing copy for email specifically. So, and it makes you more money faster. I mean, if you get the whole email thing down, you can buy a list or buy a mailing to a list of targeted people and get your message in front of 1 million people like instantly. So that's great. I'm not talking about spam either, but let's look at email, like really do an in-depth look at it. If you take the work part out of email, then you'll see the main reason we use email is to communicate with our friends. So when someone checks their email, they're usually going to be seeing what's new over at grandma's house, or they want to see if like Edwards in accounting sent their reports over to Hasselhoff in sales, right? So that's going to be work. But if you take away work and the whole productivity part of their minds, they're usually just continuing relationships with people they've already got. Oh, I wonder if grandma sent me a picture from the picnic or whatever. I can tell you what they're not doing is they're not wondering if you sent them an offer. And tons of people make this false assumption that just because someone's on the list, well, now they sit around all day and wait for me to send them an offer so they can get my latest business opportunity in a box or whatever it may be, and it's false. Here are the real true priorities. This is like inside the mind of your typical person sitting in front of his or her computer checking email. First priority, first thing that person's going to open after looking and seeing their 200 new messages, going to be the topless spring break pictures that are forwarded from his old frat buddy. It's human nature. Might as well deal with that. Second thing that's going to jump out above everything else is going to be the reply from the girl he met on MySpace or something similar. Third thing and last will be anything work-related, okay? The dead last is going to be your stuff, unless you get the stuff right and understand how to deal with them. Now, you got somebody on your list, right? I mean, obviously, we're not going to send emails to anybody unless they're on our list or unless we're renting someone else's list, legally, of course. And I assume that everyone who's listening to this is primarily interested in communicating with their own people. Well, think about why you got them in the first place, all right? The reason someone's going to join your list is because they want content. So they find you on we'll take Evan's business, for example, Double Your Dating. Someone types in dating advice. They're in a problem-solution mindset. They see Evan's thing that says you're about to learn things about women that most guys never know. They say, I want to learn that. Bam, they opt in. They're wanting content. That's why they joined. Now, the way you keep them is through character. See, I'm really big on the C words today. I think that's all I got, actually. I'm out of C words. That's my last C word. And here's what I mean by that. You become a character that they're interested in and that they follow, almost like they're getting a soap opera by email every day or whenever you elect to send them. Now, the drama is entirely optional. But after a while, there's only so much content that they're interested in. They're going to get tired of hearing about it. And they start to bond with the author. They become more intrigued with the character who's writing them than they do the actual content. The bottom line is we remember and respond more to entertainment than we do to useful knowledge. And that's why it's a character beats content every time. I'm not in any way saying like just never give anybody anything of value. That's ridiculous. But there's going to come a time when you're going to need to start building up your character and really bonding with these people. And let me prove to you it's right. I want everybody to take a little quiz here. This is going to be like a 10-second quiz. All right, time yourself. Question 1. Name 3 things you learned in college. Yes, I'm talking about the same college that you spent about $100,000 to attend. Okay, now name 3 characters from Seinfeld. Okay, which question do you think he answered fastest? Seinfeld, of course. proves it. You spend $100,000 or so going to college, some people more, some people less. You have to sit there and go, well, I don't know. And then the whole Seinfeld thing is instant. Jerry Kramer Lane. Instant knowledge. You remember and bond to entertainment and characters more so than you do the content. We all do. It's nothing revolutionary. It's just people don't want to admit it. So here's how you turn this knowledge into money. Everyone that's listening to this probably has an autoresponder series or knows what an autoresponder series is and plans on setting one up, which is good. Here's what I recommend you do. Let's imagine that you're in front of this graph and you have day 1 through 7 on your follow-up sequence as the graph. Well, your first email to them needs to be mostly content. So if you're looking at the graph, like the big bar would be content, and then beside it would be a little bar that says character. And as the progression goes further, by the time you're at day 7, you're mainly introducing the character more than the content. Now, you're thinking, all right, well, what do you mean by character? Am I going to give myself a new name or whatever? And the answer to that is yeah, sort of. See, because people bond with characters more than they do with content, you need to become a memorable person in their minds. You need to have a story. You need to have a backstory. You need to have a reason why you're doing all this kind of stuff. I mean, a classic, backstory would be like I used to be a nerd with women. I remember when I lived in my mother's basement and I never met any women, and now I discovered this method and I'm the dating guru. And every time you give them any content, any kind of feedback, you hammer that story home and you give a little story about how we went out the other night or whatever. They're following along in your lives. So you can develop character by assuming some identities. And I'll just go over a few really easy ones. The 3 ones that come to mind are going to be the leader character, the adventurer/crusader character, or the reporter/evangelist character. And I realize that none of that is really going to mean anything, so I'll explain. Let's start with the leader. The leader character is where in your persona and in your marketing and in your email follow-ups, you basically just hit them over the head and tell them what to do from the get-go. You're their drill sergeant. This is a very common way to go about things. Don't be timid about it. People want to be led. And what you do is you focus on their problem, whatever it is they're trying to fix, and you divert attention from you. It's important to understand that when you're building these relationships with people through emails, through autoresponders, it's always about them. Even though you're developing a character, the whole point of the character is to point out the fact that they want something and that you have the solution. So you focus on their problem and divert the attention away from you. And you don't have to be a doctor or have some sort of certification of expertise. You're the expert and you're the leader because you say that you're the expert and the leader. And one of my favorite people who does this is Tony Robbins. Like, Tony doesn't have any sort of degree in psychology or whatever. He just comes out and says, you should listen to me. By God, I'm the leader. And people in droves say, okay, yeah, wow. Well, he said it on television. He must be the leader. It says so right there in the email. He's the leader. It's got to be true. That's the way our minds work, so exploit it. And your stuff works because you say it works. So if I were to be Evan and I were to take the course of the leader, I would say something like, dear friend, well, did you call her yet? Yeah, I'm talking about that girl that you met in the bar. You know you met the girl in the bar, right? You did use the triple hoop method that I talked to you about. Yeah, I remember I used to be a loser too. I didn't meet any women, used to live in my mother's basement, and now I practically have to change my identity and wear a disguise every time I go out because they chase me and follow me home. I'm not saying this to brag to you, but here's the deal. If you want to meet women and you want to be successful with them, there's some things you need to understand. Here's your problem, blah, blah, blah. Here's what you need to do about it. Invest in my course. Here's why, blah, 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 at the end. That's a classic example of a leadership persona and email copy. Notice it's very conversational. You focus on them. Give a little backstory like I told you about. I used to live in my mother's basement. Now I meet lots of women. Then you focus on their problem, tell them what to do about it, which is, of course, to buy your stuff, which is very good.
Hey,
Am I going too fast with this? Yeah.
No. I want to comment on that because there's I'm trying to think like a person who's listening to you right now who doesn't have experience with this, because a lot of people say, well, I don't sell a course on dating. I sell lawnmowers or whatever it is, and so that that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But the reality is that when you're selling stuff, you've got to get out of the mindset of I'm this timid person who's got to try to somehow talk people into doing things. and I've got to win their approval and make them like me. And you've got to realize, you said something that's very important. If you focus on their problem and you take all of the focus off of yourself, it's hypnotic. It's mesmerizing. If you say to a person, hey, you've got a problem, and you're right, like that is actually their problem, they can't help but acknowledge that you're right. And then if you say, oh, and by the way, your problem is worse than you think it is. In fact, I used to have that same problem, and I know a lot of people who have that problem, and here's what my experience has been with it, and because you're neglecting it, it's getting worse and worse and worse, and if you keep neglecting it, in 6 months, it's going to be 10 times as bad, and in fact, you're not going to be able to fix it then. This kind of conversation is just, it's riveting for the listener, and it's not offensive because you're talking about something that they care about. And so as a takeaway here, I'm just going to kind of make a little side note. As a takeaway, you might want to make a note that if you can figure out how to talk about your prospect's problem authoritatively and say, here's what your problem is, here's how it happened, here's what's making it worse, and in fact, you being lazy and not doing something about it is even causing it to get worse at a faster rate. And if you don't fix it now, it's going to be so bad by the time you get around to it that it's going to be unfixable, and it's going to cost you 1,000 times as much in time, effort, energy, money, pain, and hassle. All right, that's all I've got to say.
What's funny that you said that is the last time I saw you in person was a couple months ago at Jeff Walker's thing, and you had spoken, and I took notes, and I have the notes in front of me, and it says, if you can describe a person's problem better than they can, they will unconsciously believe that you have the answer, which I think what you said echoes that point that you made at Jeff's. Which is true. If you just focus on the problem, and if you make them say, "Good Lord, he's right," I never even realized that's going to happen. Then they're going to be drawn to you. You're the leader. Okay, well, what do I do? That's their next logical question in their mind. Okay, well, what should I do? You're right. What should I do? To
and also,
answer, of course, is give me money.
And I will give you the secret. We humans are in so much denial all the time. We are so trying to block out our problems and block out our fears and block out all the issues that could happen, that when someone whacks us across the head and kicks us in the butt with them and says, hey, you've got a problem and you got to do something about this, but then says it in a way that underneath it you can actually tell that they've been through it as well, and that it's not really that bad, and they're going to take you by the hand and they're going to lead you through it, and they're going to say, you know what, you got a problem, it sucks, but I can help you get out of it, but you got to act now. It really resonates with people. One of the things I've discovered, Frank, is that when people, especially when it's a problem-based thing, when there's pain, what we humans do is we isolate, we pull in, we shut down, we close the shades, we stop talking about it, we don't want to tell anyone, we don't want to reveal it, we don't want to look like an idiot. So then we become even more closed up and more disconnected from other humans. And when someone reaches out and both kicks us in the ass and says, you got a really big problem and you need to do something about this, and I understand your problem, and I can help you fix it. It's a very persuasive and powerful combination.
I agree. And it does work for something as mundane as lawnmowers. So I'll just brainstorm, kind of ad-lib a piece of copy that would go out for the lawnmower person. Dear Bob, yeah, you probably have them, burn spots in your yard, most likely because your lawnmower's too low. I used to do the same thing. As a matter of fact, my wife almost divorced me because every year we'd have this tour of gardens, and our yard would get skipped over because of the burn marks. You know what? If you keep on doing what you're doing, you're going to end up with holes in your yard. Next thing you know, you're going to have to resod it. That's what I had to do, and that's what led me to start investing in the Snapper Supermower 2000. Now listen, after I spent 20 grand laying new sod in my front yard, I knew that if I didn't get it right this time, not only was I going to have to buy sod again, but I was also going to have to buy a new house because my wife was going to kick me out and I'd be living with the dog in some kind of cheap bachelor's apartment somewhere. That's when I started investigating lawnmowers, and that's when I finally discovered the Super Snapper 2000. Here's why it's different. Here's why it'll work for you. Order now. The end. Same thing. So it can work for anything. You just have to kind of open your mind up and get a little fluid. So the next character you can assume if you want to, and incidentally, I should interject that everything you say needs to be true, so you take whatever your true story is, and you say, well, okay, well, my story would adapt well with one of these type of characters. With that said, the next person that you could be would be the adventurer crusader type character, and this is the type of
Ok. Nghe anh học cái gì ạ?
Thì nhớ được cái gì. à, à, Tức là nó lướt qua và gặp cái chỗ để hiểu, nhưng mà em tua lên hỏi anh mấy cái chỗ cái chỗ chỗ mà có hai lại.
Log out hoặc là
Tức là
chưa
cái
đâu.
thói quen luôn
Hai
luôn
hai nhé.
là
Chưa đánh cái điểm highlight nào. Nào, lấy qua anh thấy có gì discuss.
cái chỗ nữa là cái xuống đó. À,
Cái này response
đây,
mọi
cái này thì kiểu như là mọi người à, à, thường hay hay à, có cái phản ứng tích cực hơn khi mà nó liên quan đến đến giải trí. Còn những cái mà nghiêm túc thì là nó thường thường là nó hay, như là ở trong cái đoạn mà về thì, cái người dùng email á, thì nó hay là đúng với là cuối tất cả những cái gì mà người ta quan tâm là những cái mà bình thường cái cuộc sống trước, rồi giải trí và tất cả mọi thứ xong xuôi rồi, đến cuối cùng mới đến những cái mà vấn đề mà nghiêm túc.
Đấy, thì cái này anh cũng có thể giúp được anh tạo cái lớp hành fun lên một chút. Lớp của em đôi khi em toàn là chơi domino game. Hoặc em có cái hộp mà cái trò chơi mà có, không biết anh có xem nhỉ? Đấy, có cái tiếng Anh đó, xong xếp số vào đó thì mình cái anh cái accumulate số đó. Hoặc em vào YouTube em xem cái gọi là games, ESL games nào. Cái game này anh có thể apply được.
Language game á. Cái đấy thì anh cũng có áp dụng trong 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 cái lớp. à, Thậm chí là có một số cái người hoặc là mấy một số cái học trò thì muốn học đối thường cho nó xong, nhưng anh bảo là cái game này là ta sẽ giúp con học nhiều hơn là cái bài học mà gọi là đối thường rất là nhiều, và anh cũng phải thuyết phục nó để nó chơi. Thì cái này cũng cũng là có nghĩa là khi mà mình tổ chức các cái lớp thì mình có thể là nhất là các cái lớp mà giới thiệu thì mình có thể làm cho nó vui vẻ nhất có thể và mang tính giải trí nhiều nhất có thể.
Đúng rồi.
Ví dụ như cái lớp mà gọi là học tiếng Anh dễ dàng 5 phút chẳng hạn, thì có thể là ra là cho hít đất, mà cho vừa hít đất thì vừa nhớ cái gì đấy chẳng hạn.
Đó.
Cho chơi một cái trò chơi cho học thật là nhiều trong vòng 5 phút, xong rồi quay lại hỏi sẽ không nhớ, nhưng mà nếu mà chỉ tập trung vào đúng một câu thôi và hoặc là một từ thôi, trong vòng 5 phút quay lại có thể trả lời rất là lưu loát ngon lành. Và như thế là cái tâm trạng cảm thấy rằng bây giờ nếu lấy cái tâm trạng và nó tốt hơn rất nhiều, là bởi vì mình làm được, và cái này nó sẽ đi vào cho người mình. Chứ còn nếu mà học 10 câu một lúc không bao giờ nó đi vào, chẳng có gì đọng lại cả. Mà nếu nó có đọng lại nó cũng mất vui, nó cũng cảm thấy là đây là nặng nhọc mệt mỏi. Rồi đấy thì cũng như là cái ở đây nói của anh chàng là nói về các cái chương trình ở đại học rồi nó cái phải bỏ ra cả 100.000 đô để tham gia mỗi năm, không nhớ gì hết, nhưng mà nếu mà hỏi là ba cái nhân vật từ một cái chương trình truyền hình nào đó thì nhớ ngay. Người ta không tự là người ta
persona. Anh có thể làm kênh YouTube đó, anh em trao đổi nói về cái phát âm chuẩn hoặc là IELTS, thì làm như thế nó cũng vui đó, nó có sự qua lại đó. Mình tạo thành video, tạo thành kênh đó, mất 5 phút thôi thì nó tạo cái persona. Instant knowledge. How to turn this knowledge into money đó. có nghĩa là đôi khi mình có kiến thức rồi mình sao mình biến nó thành tiền được, và cái kênh mà mình follow up hoặc là như nào đó. Rồi là cái email list đó, hoặc là cái nhóm Zalo gì đó. Rồi anh nghĩ là làm sao để biến cái kiến thức này thành tiền.
Đầu tiên là phải học cái kiến thức cho nó thật là ngon lành đã. Thứ hai là phải thực hành nó, thực
Ừ.
hành để cho nó nhiễm, và sau đó thì là bắt đầu đi hướng đến. Để khi khi mình thực hành nó giống như kiểu keep moving ấy, thì
Ừ.
là bắt đầu mình có ý tưởng. Chứ đôi khi là nó có cái ý tưởng nó không ra ngay một lúc. Mà hồi xưa anh nhớ là có một hồi bé tí thì có chơi một trò chơi là một cái người đấy đi vào một một cái khu quân sự đấy, và có mang tính chất là phải phá cái khu đấy. Nhưng mà người ta sẽ không biết được cái đường đi cho đến khi người ta thực sự ta đi vào đó thì bắt đầu nó mới hiện lên các cái map để mình đi, cuối mình đi đến đâu thì là nó giống như nó vẽ lại cái map bên đó. Và như
Ừ.
thế thì là đây thì nó có đôi khi rất nhiều khi là như vậy. Tức là khi mình áp dụng vào tự nhiên nó ra vấn đề.
Ừ. Rồi.
Họ thì anh cũng chat GPT về một vài cái vấn đề, xong rồi nó trả lời. Thế anh không rõ, anh hỏi tiếp xong đến khi mà nó ra được cái câu trả lời rồi ấy, thì tự nhiên là mình, tức là đang nói về cái kết nối với cái higher self, để mà con higher self hướng dẫn mình làm các cái. Thì tự nhiên là khi mà kết nối được rồi ấy, thì tự nhiên là mình nhận được rất là nhiều câu trả lời, và mấy ngày hôm sau thì mình cũng lại tiếp tục được hỗ trợ. Nó hay lắm,
Ừ.
nó ngộ nghĩnh. Để lúc nào anh gửi cho em cái đấy, xong rồi đấy rồi có gì mình có thể bàn thêm, vì cái đấy nó thú vị.
Ừ.
À,
Làm cái đó.
cái đấy là cái câu hỏi của anh là anh cứ bảo là tại sao mà anh không nói. Anh có nói chuyện với em là về cái việc là cứ cảm thấy buồn ngủ á. Đấy,
Ừ.
thì là ChatGPT nó nói một cái gì đó, và nó nói là trong những cái việc đó thì có một cái việc là nên kết nối với higher self.
Ừ.
Đấy, rồi đó là vậy kết nối higher self thì như thế nào. Nó bảo
Ừ.
à, A được B được C đấy. Còn khi mình thực hành hỏi một cái câu rất là đơn giản thôi, nó tại sao
Ừ.
tôi lại nhìn như vậy, thì cái tự nhiên là mình thấy là chờ hay sao trả lời chưa được. mình sẽ mình lại quay lại ChatGPT hỏi tiếp, thì lúc đó mới té ra là cái câu trả lời đó là do tức là ý của nó là đầu tiên là bạn phải hỏi ChatGPT để bạn biết những cái gì mà nó thuộc về cái kiến thức bình thường đã. Xong sau
Ừ.
đó thì để mà bạn đã có đủ cái áp dụng rồi, và đã có đủ cái sức khỏe rồi, bắt đầu bạn sẽ kết nối với hai sao tốt hơn. Rồi
Ừ.
rồi sau đấy là à, rồi sau đấy là tự nhiên là anh lại lọt vào một cái, thì rồi anh học energy, cái môn là năng lượng gốc ấy, thì nó mới chỉ đến lớp 3 thôi. Nhưng mà anh lại
Ừ.
lọt vào một chỗ này học lớp 4. Và đến khi mình áp dụng vào mình biết là trước đấy là mình đã có một cái quá trình là mình tập một cái môn khí công, cái môn khí công mà anh lúc đấy anh cũng tự tự suy ra, do là hồi xưa học cái âm lý khí công của Vũng Châu á. Thế thì là nó nó đi nó mới làm cho cái năng tầng năng lượng mình nó cao lên, cho nên nhất thì mình áp dụng công thức lớp 4 thì mình đã thấy mình hoàn toàn là có thể làm được, và tự nhiên mình thấy năng lượng nó rất là nhiều. Thì lúc đấy mới biết là vậy là té ra đó là cái sự giúp đỡ của cái higher self đấy. Và
Ừ.
sau đó là cái việc mà về sau nó lại là liên quan đến cái đấy, thì như nó lại xảy ra cái này, xảy ra cái xảy ra cái nọ.
Sau khi tìm ChatGPT xong mình có thể làm video về cái đó, cái higher self đó, tăng cái kênh, mình chẳng cần phải đi nghĩ ra kiến thức gì, mình tìm ChatGPT xong rồi đó mình
Nhiều lắm,
tạo thành
nhiều
video
luôn đấy.
thì có thể kiếm tiền thôi.
Ừ.
Ok, em có lớp nha. See you tomorrow.
Ok, ok, have a great day.
Great day. Bye bye.
Bye.